Have you ever spent hours on a project, polishing it, refining it, agonizing over a single minuscule detail that no one else would likely ever notice, only to feel a wave of anxiety instead of a sense of accomplishment? Have you ever delayed starting a task because you feared you couldn't execute it flawlessly? Or have you ever looked at your own life, your achievements, your very self, and felt that it was perpetually falling short of an impossibly high standard? If this sounds familiar, you may be caught in one of the most insidious and misunderstood psychological prisons of our time, the perfectionism trap. Welcome to Existential Psychology Insights. If you are on a quest to understand the deeper workings of your mind and to live a more conscious and fulfilling life, I invite you to subscribe and become part of our community of seekers. Today, we are going to dismantle the myth of perfection. Our culture often glorifies perfectionism, framing it as a noble pursuit of excellence, a desirable trait for high achievers. But we will explore the crucial distinction between a healthy drive for quality and the neurotic, maladaptive perfectionism that breeds anxiety, fosters procrastination, and ultimately sabotages our ability to live a happy and authentic life. We will look at this not just as a bad habit, but as a profound existential struggle rooted in our deepest fears. First, it is vital to understand that not all striving is toxic. There is adaptive or healthy perfectionism. This is the drive of the athlete who pushes to beat their personal best, or the artist who works diligently to master their craft. It is characterized by high standards, but also by a sense of satisfaction in the effort and the ability to accept outcomes that are less than perfect. It is flexible and focused on growth. But the perfectionism we are discussing today is different. It is maladaptive perfectionism. This is a rigid, unforgiving, all-or-nothing mindset. For the maladaptive perfectionist, anything short of absolute perfection is seen as a catastrophic failure. There is no middle ground, no room for error, no credit given for progress. This mindset is not a motivator, it is a tyrant. So where does this tyrant come from? From a psychological and existential perspective, perfectionism is rarely about the work itself. It is almost always a symptom of deeper underlying fears. At its core, it is often a profound fear of judgment. The perfectionist operates under the unconscious belief that if they can just be flawless in their work, their appearance, their life, then they will be immune to criticism, rejection, and shame. Their self-worth is not inherent, it is conditional, precariously balanced on their ability to perform perfectly. Every task becomes a high-stakes referendum on their value as a human being. This is also deeply tied to a need for control. The world, as existential philosophy constantly reminds us, is chaotic, uncertain, and fundamentally beyond our ultimate control. This reality can be terrifying. Perfectionism can become a coping mechanism, an attempt to create a small, manageable pocket of the universe where absolute order and predictability can be imposed. By obsessing over the details of a report or the organization of a closet, the perfectionist creates an illusion of control that distracts from the larger, more frightening uncertainties of life and death. This creates a devastating psychological feedback loop, the anxiety-perfectionism cycle. It begins with an impossible standard. The sheer height of this standard naturally generates anxiety. The fear of failing to meet it becomes overwhelming. This anxiety then triggers two common responses, either procrastination, where the task is avoided altogether because the fear of imperfection is too great to even begin, or obsessive overworking, where countless hours are poured into mitigating every conceivable flaw. When the final result, as it inevitably must, falls short of impossible flawlessness, it doesn't lead to a recalibration of standards. Instead, it confirms the perfectionist's deepest fear: I am not good enough. This feeling of failure then breeds more anxiety, which in turn leads to even more rigid, more demanding perfectionistic standards for the next task. It is a self-perpetuating prison of anxiety and self-criticism. How do we break free? The answer lies not in trying harder, but in fundamentally shifting our philosophical perspective on life itself. We must challenge the very ideal of perfection. An existential perspective encourages us to embrace the concept of imperfection as essential to life. We can draw inspiration from the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi, which finds profound beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. A cracked ceramic bowl is not seen as ruined, but as possessing a unique history and character. In the same way, a life with flaws, with mistakes, with unfinished projects is not a failed life. It is a human life. Our scars, our errors, our vulnerabilities are not signs of shame. They are evidence of our engagement with the world, of our courage to have tried. To strive for a flawless, polished existence is to strive for something sterile, something inhuman. Authenticity requires us to accept our whole selves, not just the curated, perfect parts. The ancient Stoics also offer a powerful antidote. They would remind us to focus on our intentions and our efforts, the things within our control, and to practice a calm acceptance of the outcomes, which are ultimately not. The goal is not to produce a perfect piece of work, but to have worked with virtue, with diligence, and with integrity. The satisfaction comes from the process, from the act of striving well, not from an external, perfect product. This shifts our sense of worth from the outcome to our character. Practically, breaking free begins with self-compassion. We must learn to speak to ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a dear friend who is struggling. When you make a mistake, instead of launching into a tirade of self-criticism, try acknowledging the effort, recognizing the difficulty, and offering yourself encouragement. This is not an excuse for mediocrity. It is the foundation for resilience. We must also consciously practice setting realistic and flexible goals. Break down overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable steps. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate the small victories along the way. Create a done is better than perfect mantra for tasks that do not require absolute precision. Give yourself permission to be human. Ultimately, the perfectionism trap is a battle over meaning. The perfectionist mistakenly believes that their meaning and value are located in an impossible, flawless future state. The existential path to freedom is to realize that meaning is here, now. It is found in the courage to begin despite the fear, in the integrity of our effort, in the wisdom gained from our mistakes, and in the profound beauty of a life that is messy, incomplete, and undeniably authentically human. It is time to put down the destructive hammer of perfectionism and learn to appreciate the beautiful, imperfect sculpture that is your life.